Wayfair's Labor Day clearance is on now. Right now at Wayfair, you can get up to 70% off everything home. Shop Wayfair's Labor Day clearance now through September 7th at wayfair.ca.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
Debate, interviews, and breaking news. The Elias Macco Show. News Talk Radio, CJAD 800.
Akilah Newton here, filling in for Elias Mackos this morning. In this hour, we're going to be tackling a few topics, such as Quebec's love affair with intervention plans to address various social ills, as well as what to expect from this year's Caribbean Island Fete Festival in the West Island. But first, we're going to tackle this trade war that we seem to be embroiled in with the United States and what the right response really is. I'm going to be chatting with Vincent Geloso. He's an assistant professor of economics at George Mason University down in my old neck of the woods. That's in Northern Virginia, just outside of Washington, D.C. But make no mistake, folks, Vincent is originally from here, right here in Quebec. And that's why I think it's particularly interesting to get his take on this issue. Vincent, thanks for joining me.
It's a pleasure. I will clarify that I am from the great city of St. Lambert on the south shore of Montreal.
St. Lambert in particular. There you go, folks. Hometown hero. So, Vincent.
Yes.
What was your response when you heard about the negotiations, the trade negotiations between Canada and the States collapsing last week and everything that's happened since then, particularly the Carney government's retaliatory response?
So, let's cut things into a few bits so people don't misunderstand what I'm trying to say. There's a lot of details that have come out. Some of them seem to be clashing about what the deal's nature was, and I'm not sure what was in it. But regardless of what the deal is, how bad it is, if it's really bad, if it was modestly bad, whatever you think of the deal will not alter anything that I am about to say, largely because the United States seem to be going down a very protectionist route. And so if you accept that as a given, and then we look at the list of options that we have, in the real world of ideals, multilateral liberalization, where everybody does free trade together, would be the first best world. At the other extreme, you have Canada taking back deals, and in between, you have unilateral liberalization and counter-tariffs. Of those, unilateral liberalization is the superior course.
And what do you mean, just to be clear, what exactly do you mean by unilateral liberalization?
It means Canada removing its own tariffs, Canada removing interprovincial trade barriers that exist. It means basically going alone. That's it. It's doing free trade by yourself. And that's the defense I'm making and saying whatever you think of the deal, good deal, bad deal, whatever you think, it doesn't matter. Because unilateral liberalization, if multilateral liberalization is no longer on the table, unilateral liberalization is the best way to go.
So you're saying,
that's why I'm arguing.
So basically, and again, to be clear, to make sure all of that Econ 101 jargon is clear to our listeners, basically you're saying Canada should still keep its barriers to international trade as low as possible, if not eliminate them altogether, even if the countries that we trade with, do not do the same, and they keep their tariff walls and other trade barriers high. That's what you're saying?
That is exactly what I am saying. The reason why is we have to understand what tariffs are. Tariffs are a weird name that we give to taxes, but they are taxes. They're taxes on Canadian consumers who import foreign goods. So we should simply remove these taxes. And also, if we're worried about exporters, consider ways in which are we doing certain regulations? Are we doing certain rules that increase the cost of production to Canadian firms such that they can't access foreign markets, not because of tariff, but because they're not competitive cost-wise? If we find ways to make firms more competitive, we can also offset some of the downsides of tariffs, but also at the same time make ourselves richer because lower costs means greater productivity. So the only way forward is what I've described, and the reason why I say this is, first of all, counter-tariffs have a poor track record of yielding the results people want. we've done this in Canada. In fact, we've done it in the 1930s after the U.S. passed a very famous tariff, Smoot-Hawley, that looks a lot like the kind of economic philosophy that the current president seems to have. It was a bad idea. It was a horrible idea. Canada decided to try and influence the United States by doing counter-tariffs by a man called Bennett, who was prime minister starting in 1930.
R.B. Bennett,
and it backfired. It backfired. The Americans didn't do anything, so it didn't change their policy. We had to wait until the late 1930s when a man called Cordell Hull, Secretary of State, started doing trade deals with different nations because Hull was a very adamant free trader who replaced the previous administration. So we had to wait a long time, and all we did was make the Great Depression, because the years I'm mentioning were the Great Depression years. We made the Depression maybe 10% deeper with our counter tariffs. So
it sounds like you're saying
it's not a good idea.
So it sounds like you're saying anything that, and correct me if I'm wrong, because the last thing I want to do is put words in your mouth, but it sounds like you're saying any economic retaliatory measures that we take against the states are just going to hurt us at least as much as it hurts them, if not more so. And so we just shouldn't, are you saying that we shouldn't take any retaliatory measures at all in any way, shape, or form? Because I think most Canadians agree, it's clear most Canadians agree, that we need to fight back in some way and stand up to Trump.
Well, I would say that, so there's two things that people seem to have in mind. That tariffs are the only response that we have. That is not correct. There are other tools that can be used.
Let's hear about
Number
those.
Two, wait, let me just finish about the other part.
Okay.
Is they assume that these counter tariffs will be effective. If they just hurt us and they don't change the policy, then there's no point in doing them. And we have evidence for this. If the first numbers came out where people simulated the retaliatory tariff, and the state that is most affected by Canadian counter tariff is Michigan, for very obvious reason, because it's right next to Ontario. The share of GDP that is affected by Canadian counter tariff is 0.48%. It's trivial, and that's the most affected state. The other ones, they go down to 0.1%, which is $1 in $1,000 that's being affected. So whatever we're doing, it's not even going to matter empirically in terms of like the numbers, but they are going to hurt Canadians to a much larger degree. So I don't think the effectiveness case has been made.
I see.
Now,
so sorry to jump in here, Vincent. Just so everyone knows, Akilah Newton here, filling in for Elias Makos this morning. I'm talking to Vincent Geloso. He is an assistant professor of economics at George Mason University, but originally from St. Lambert, Quebec, right here in the Montreal area. And he is shedding some light on what he thinks is the right response that Canada should make to the burgeoning trade war with the States. And so I guess the question, like I mentioned just now, Vincent, is are there measures that Canada can take to stand up to Trump, to stand up to Trump's bullying without shooting ourselves in the foot economically?
Yes. So the best solutions is for Canada to strike bilateral trade deals with other nations. So Canada should start looking elsewhere and strike trade deals with other nations. In fact, if the rumors are true that that Article 32.10 from the previous CUSMA was being tightened in some way to give more of a right of review to the United States government and what terms of deals, not just trade deals, Canada could do with other nations, Canada should just ignore this and just start doing trade deals with other nations and target tariff reductions against other nations. So reduce tariffs against the Brits, reduce tariffs against Australians, reduce tariffs against the Japanese, reduce tariffs against other nations. So if you unilaterally liberalize, you can unilaterally liberalize, but not evenly.
But it
so
sounds
you could reduce that would be one way to go, in which way you're changing the political tactic. But this is also makeshift policy. The reality is there's no nation that can ensure its sovereignty by being poor. The greatest deterrent to economic warfare and war in general is to be wealthy. Because if you're wealthy, you can withstand shocks, you can adjust, because generally if you're wealthier, you're more productive, you have greater flexibility in industrial production, you can adjust to shocks better because of that flexibility.
Right.
So combine this two wealth and greater flexibility means you can deter people from economic warfare or warfare, period, in the first place.
Well,
the reason why, if you look historically, nations that win wars, let's not talk about trade wars, but just wars, generally it's the richer nation.
Right.
That wins.
Well, so sorry to jump in here, Vincent, because we are running a bit short on time. But correct me if I'm wrong again. It sounds like you're saying we shouldn't be responding by trying to strike back at the United States. The only realistic option available to us is just to trade as freely as possible amongst ourselves and with other countries. But we can't really do anything meaningful against the states. So is that really what you're saying?
Any policy that makes Canadians poorer is a bad policy in the long run.
But what about this, though? Very, very quickly. I'm so sorry to cut you off, but because we have to wrap up very shortly. But I just want to share this thought with you. What about the argument that, okay, any measure we take against the United States itself is going to hurt us as well, but we need to be willing to withstand some punishment, even if it's self-inflicted, in the name of standing up for our international sovereignty. Stand up to the bully. Even if he lands some body blows on us, we're still going to come out better for it in the end by showing we can't be messed with without the bully paying a price. Is there no merit to that at all? Very quickly.
There is, as I said, you can take every policy solution that stands up to the Americans and make Canadians poorer should not be considered. There are policies that can make Canadians richer and still stand up to the Americans. Make a trade deal with Japan, right? Liberalize towards Japan, liberalize towards France, liberalize towards the European Union. Try to favor, heck, I'm going to go on and say something that's not going to make me any friends on the far right in Canada.
Very quickly.
But I don't really care. Against China, reduce tariffs for Chinese goods that come into Canada. That is the biggest finger you can do to the American president. It will make Canadians richer. It will make the Canadian economy more productive. It will create deterrence abilities in the future because wealth creates deterrence. So these policies that create wealth immediately will be effective in terms of standing up, but they will also build a stock of ability to withstand future pressure and whims of president, Democrat or Republican in the United States.
Right.
So any policy that make us poor right now are bad policies.
Okay. Thank you so much, Vincent Geloso, Professor of Economics at George Mason University. Much appreciated.
Cheers.
Absolutely. Let's check your
When you buy furniture from Wayfair, you're not just getting furniture, you're setting your home up for a lifetime of memories. Visit wayfair.ca today or download the Wayfair app. Furniture made for all of life's moments. That's Wayfair.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
Hey, I'm Ruby Carr, the host of the podcast Encore. Check out our brand new episodes featuring music from the show that everyone is reheating as we speak, Heated Rivalry. Join me as I go behind the songs that brought Shane and Elia together. I'll tell you the stories of Feist, My Moon, My Man, Wolf Parade's I'll Believe in Anything, and Tattoo's All the Things She Said, and how they all became a part of this global phenomenon. Stream Encore on iHeartRadio, Crave, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Montreal, the everyday and the extraordinary. The Elias Macco Show on CJAD 800.
I can't behave myself. All when I jump in with the friends. I can't behave myself. Soon as the music is there. I can't behave myself. Go any back and not to end. I can't behave myself. Soon as the music is there.
Akilah here filling in for Elias Mackos. And I cannot get enough of that song. That is Can't Behave by Voice, which happens to be my favorite soca artist coming out of Trinidad and Tobago these days. And as I'm sure you can guess, that's because that's relevant to the interview I'm about to do now with Akilah Newton, head and founder of Overture with the Arts, which is the group organizing Island Fete. This is a Caribbean-themed cultural festival and just celebration that's going to be taking place in a couple of weekends, Labor Day weekend in the West Island. And so Akilah is joining me on the line right now to share this with you, the listener. Akilah, thanks for joining me.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, can you just give us a bit of an idea about what Overture with the Arts does, your organization, as well as Island Fete as an event?
Yeah, so Overture with the Arts is a nonprofit organization that makes the arts accessible to youth in the West Island. We offer a variety of in-school and after-school programming, anything from music, dance to theater. We really just want to get the kids to create in a fun and positive, safe environment. And we've been around for 17 years. And since 2023, we've been collaborating with Don Garrett and Nicole Catwell of Tasty Touch to produce Island Fete. So we are about to launch the 4th edition. We're very excited. And as you said, it's Labor Day weekend. We are collaborating this year with the Lindsay Place Alumni Foundation Concerts for Compassion to bring you guys 2 days of really great fun community initiatives and just to really unite the community. So on Saturday, September 5th, Concerts for Compassion will be having their jamboree where they'll have a lineup of different artists. However, we'll have our Caribbean food vendors on site. We'll have family activities. We'll have face painting and bouncy castles for the kids. And then the Sunday, September 6th is strictly Caribbean vibes and Island Fete. So from 1 to 9 on Saturday and Sunday, families could come out with their kids, have a great time, enjoy some good food, good music, and good community vibes. On the Sunday for Island Fete, you could expect to hear music from Hands of Steel and Fatima Wilson. We have Montreal's well-known Jab Jab, Jaylene McCarthy, Inos Asso. It's going to be such a great day. We've got a kids carnival hosted by Malik Shahid and DJ Blaster. It's really going to be a fantastic Labor Day weekend.
All of that is music to my ears, Akilah, both literally and figuratively. And so, it seems to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, that this year, Island Fete, which I've attended in the past, y'all seem to be expanding it and broadening its scope. Was there any particular inspiration for doing that now?
Oh, we figured, 4 years in, we need to just add some more value to what we're offering to the community, which is why we decided to collaborate with the Concerts for Compassion. So it's, 2 jam-packed days of arts and culture. So we just want to just every year add more and more to just offer more community initiatives.
I see. Well, I can see why you would want to do that. Makes sense. This is Akilah Newton filling in for Elias Makos on the Elias Makos Show this morning. I am chatting with Akilah Newton, head and founder of Overture with the Arts, the community organization behind Island Fete, the Caribbean festival that takes place annually and in the West Island, and that is going to be supersized this coming Labor Day weekend. If you have ever been to Island Fete or would like to attend or are just curious about the overall themes involved, please feel free to text in to our text line at 514-790-0800 with your thoughts and your experiences. Akilah, what do you think is the role that an event like Island Fete plays in the community broadly? What do you think it brings to the table?
I think that an event like Island Fete really does unite the community. We really do want everyone from different, cultural communities, linguistic communities. We want everyone to just come out, have some delicious food from either Tasty Touch, Vinci Fresh, or SNS Chef Sean Samuel. We want them to get a taste of what the Caribbean has to offer, and we want them to, get to experience how kind and warm and welcoming the Caribbean community is. So we really just want to have this event to, like I said earlier, bring the community together, unite the community, and it's also a really beautiful way to just close off the summer.
I tend to agree. I think it's always great to have events that bookend the summer so that, we always need to make the most of our summers here in Montreal and in Canada broadly. They tend to be shorter and not as hot as elsewhere, so we don't let a good summer go to waste. I completely agree with you on that.
Yes, and Island Fete, honestly, is going to bring great weather. We are praying to all the weather gods. It's going to be sunshine. It's going to be a great, great weekend. And honestly, we're doing it in Dorval this year. It's the first time we're doing it in Dorval, but it's so accessible. We're right across the street from the REM. So if people don't drive, just hop on the REM and then walk across the street. You'll smell the food. And it will lead you to Island Fete.
Nice. So it's super accessible as well. And, in terms of the community and the network of community organizations involved, who are some of the other organizations that are going to be participating in the event in one way or another?
Yes, so we have Playmas Montreal Cultural Association, founded by the phenomenal Gemma Rayburn-Baines. She is a pioneer in Caribbean festivals in Montreal. So from year one, she has been supporting and collaborating with us to produce a high-quality, fun event. We have Tasty Touch, which is a well-known catering company in the West Island. Don and Nikki do so much to support the Black community and the West Island. So they're working with us on this event. And then we have the Lindsay Place Voice Alumni Foundation, founded by Peter Knopf, so we'll be collaborating with them. And the event is also a collaboration with McAllen's Pub. So we have so many people coming together to help produce a wonderful weekend of activities.
And the exact location is?
The exact location is 2362 Hymas Boulevard, and that's in the parking lot of McAllen's Pub.
In Dorval, correct?
In Dorval, correct.
In Dorval, that's correct. So thank you so much again for joining me, Akilah. This is Akilah Newton, head and founder of Overture with the Arts, the group behind the Island Fete Caribbean Festival taking place Labor Day weekend in Dorval, as you just heard. Akilah Lean filling in for Elias Makos, and thank you so much for joining me, Akilah.
Thank you for having me. And if I have 2 more seconds, a huge thank you to all of our sponsors who made this event possible. Thank you to TD Bank, CN, the Lester B. Pearson School Board, PME West Island. Without these, funders and in-kind supporters, we would not be able to produce this wonderful event. Absolutely. Thanks so much again, Akilah. Thank you. Have a great day. Likewise. So here on the Elias Makos show, we have just it's paining me. It's only a half hour left in today's show, but I'm really enjoying being with you all here today. And next up, we're going to be hearing about Quebec's love affair with intervention plans from Jean-Nicolas Carrier, psychologist and author. More on that subject, but let's hear from the news.
This newscast brought to you by Supermarché Akilah, where fresh, hot bread is baked on the spot every day. Freshness you can taste, quality you can trust.
Wayfair's Labor Day clearance is on now. Right now at Wayfair, you can get up to 70% off everything home. Shop Wayfair's Labor Day clearance now through September 7th at wayfair.ca.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
Unmistakably Canadian.
It's the music that raised you.
The artists raising the bar.
Hi, this is Brian Adams.
Hey, my name's Brett Emmons. I'm from the Glorious Sons.
Hi, I'm Nelly Furtado.
Made in Canada. The station that champions Canadian music.
Loud, proud, and all yours.
No passports required. Just press play.
Tap into Made in Canada now on iHeartRadio.ca
or the free iHeartRadio app.
Time is valuable. Thanks for spending your morning with us. The Elias Makos Show on News Talk Radio, CJAD 800.
Akilah Newton here, filling in for Elias Makos today. And up now, we're going to be tackling an interesting subject indeed, Quebec's seeming love affair with intervention plans. There is an interesting conversation happening right now concerning the province's growing reliance on these intervention plans, strategies, government programs, and whether maybe we've gotten to a point where there are too many of them. Maybe they're just gumming up the works. There was a recent opinion piece in La Presse that took a critical look at this situation, this tendency. It raises questions about how Quebec approaches some of its biggest social challenges in general. So we're going to speak with the author of that article. His name is Jean-Nicolas Carrier. He is a psychologist and author of the book Pourquoi tant de TDAH? In other words, why so much ADHD? An essay on the harmful effects of good intentions. A favorite theme of mine, I must confess. Mr. Carrier, thank you for joining us.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Good morning. Absolutely. So can you just describe in a nutshell what intervention plans are, just to be clear?
Yeah, an intervention plan, in a nutshell, is a series of measures that we put forth in order to adapt the teaching to the needs, the educational needs of students, whether it's students in elementary school or the secondary school. So it's that in a nutshell.
I see. And so you seem to be expressing some, I would say, healthy skepticism about whether these plans are advisable. What exactly is arguably wrong with the status quo? Is it just that the government, public officials are embracing or imposing these plans too much, too frequently? Is there overdiagnosis going on? What exactly is the challenge?
Yeah. First of all, I think it's important not to point finger at anybody in particular. I think it's a systemic problem that has been growing since perhaps at least 25 years. Perhaps it has something to do with the way we finance and we organize the services, because most of the case, not all the intervention plans, but some intervention plan, a good part of them are financed in accordance with having a diagnosis, a medical diagnosis. So there's something about the whole culture that is more medicalized and that is more individualized. Thus, the problem that we're facing, because at first in 1999, let's not forget that the policy dates back to 1999 and has never been changed fundamentally. So at first we had so many less intervention plans, but now that more than 30% of high school students have them, there's something about the way perhaps we have. I don't know how to put it, but we've been really fond of them, but not for the right reason. So, in a nutshell, it's not all of the explanation, but that's one part of the explanation.
And how does that situation here in Quebec compare to what's going on elsewhere in Canada, like next door in Ontario, for example?
Yeah. I have to say I'm not an expert on Ontario. I've never practiced there. But
for example,
in Quebec. But
your article mentions, you talk about recent data talking about how many boys aged 12 to 17 are prescribed psychostimulating medication here compared to there. I think you said.
I have some way of some explanation there. Hypothesis that I might put forth. One of them is the availability of services that are not medicalized, that are more psychosocial in nature. And from what I understand, from what I've been reading, preparing my book, is that they have more psychosocial services as in Quebec, and it's really different between regions in Quebec. For instance, in Saguenay-Lac-Saint-Jean, it's more than 15% that students that have diagnosis of ADHD, and it's about 3% in Montreal or in Longueuil. Thus, it might have something, as some people have said, it might have something to do with the unavailability of proper mental health services, such as mental health practitioners that have a lens of intervention, a lens of understanding that is not as medicalized and that is not so fast to prescribe medication.
And so this is Akilah Newton. I'm filling in for Elias Makos this morning, and I'm chatting right now with Jean-Nicolas Carrier, psychologist and author of the book Pourquoi tant de TDAH? Why so much ADHD? And we're discussing the issue of the prevalence of intervention plans here in Quebec and whether anything can be done about it. If you have any experience with this or any thoughts on the subject, the question of medicalizing of problems with young people and related issues, feel free to text in to our line at 514-790-0800. So, Dr. Carrier, do you think that there is any clear-cut solution to this situation? What is a change in direction that Quebec needs to take?
Yeah, first of all, I think we might have to refresh the policy of school adaptation, educational adaptation. We have to refresh that. We have to put more more services where they are needed, that is more even-handed between regions of Quebec. That for sure will be a good thing to. And more broadly, as a society and as educators, as parents, we have to change the lens with which we see our children, our students. The lens is heavily medicalized, and we have to get back to perhaps something that has more to do with understanding everyday life, everyday struggles, more in terms of something that is quote unquote in the realm of normalcy, as opposed to something that is heavily pathologizing.
I see. And so what kinds of improvements do you foresee coming out of that? Do you think that we'll be able to maybe bring down the percentage of students or young people who are maybe diagnosed when they don't need to be, or being given medications that they don't need to be given?
Yeah, that will be a good start. What research shows nowadays is that the more you have psychosocial resources, the less you have intervention plans. So that will be a promising way to start.
I see. And so, overall, do you think this is part of a general trend in maybe the field of medicine where more problems should be tackled non-pharmacologically, which basically means not with drugs, not with medication, but with other means? Because I've even heard that in my own personal experience, where I've had issues with chronic pain in my due to a knee injury years ago, and one of my doctors who was tasked with managing my painkiller regimen, said, "Let's try and find a non-pharmacological, in other words, non-medicinal way to deal with your problem." Would you say that's part of a general need in society at large?
Yeah, I will say that. I guess people are more attuned to non-pharmacological intervention. Unfortunately, with the topic of pain, there have been scandals involving pharmaceutical companies having off-label prescribing practices, and that led to the opioid crisis that we know. And it's a good thing now that the mental health practitioners are more circumspect before prescribing medication, because I think people now are more aware of the potential side effect that might be counterproductive or even dangerous. And medication per se is not bad. It can be a good thing, but we have to use good clinical judgment, and perhaps the clinical judgment has not been always optimal.
I see.
In the past.
Jean-Nicolas Carrier, thank you so much for shedding some light on this issue with us.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Absolutely. Akilah Newton here, filling in for Elias Makos this morning. Let's check your traffic.
When you buy furniture from Wayfair, you're not just getting furniture. You're setting your home up for a lifetime of memories. Visit wayfair.ca today or download the Wayfair app. Furniture made for all of life's moments. That's Wayfair.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
iHeartRadio is throwing it back
2010s, the decade.
to the days of huge hits and unforgettable anthems. A non-stop stream of the biggest and best.
Drake, Rihanna, Beyonce, Katy, Gaga, The Weeknd,
And more. All your decade-defining favorites all in one place.
Hi, it's Katy Perry.
Hey, it's Bruno Mars.
This is Kesha.
Find 2010's The Decade on the free iHeartRadio app. Preset the station so it's always one tap away. The Elias Makos Show. News Talk Radio. CJAD 800.
Akilah Newton here, filling in for Elias Makos this morning. It's been a great show, and to wrap up, I would really like to tackle one of the topics that I discussed at the beginning of this hour, the interview I did earlier with Vincent Geloso, originally of St. Lambert, Quebec, an economist who is now lecturing at George Mason University in Northern Virginia. So he's in what some might call the belly of the beast, so to speak. Now, I had a really interesting conversation with Vincent, because he is of the opinion, when it comes to the whole trade war that Canada's embroiled in right now with the United States, he, based on his research and his expertise in the field of economics, he says we should not hit back against the United States. He says retaliatory tariffs are the wrong way to go. And I've seen him comment on this on Facebook. He's gone into some detail as well as in our interview. And by the way, this is one of those issues where I really, really do want to hear from you, the listener, with your feelings, your thoughts on the subject. What is the right way for us to respond to Trump? Do we stand up and fight back? Do we stand up to the bully and show that he can't mess with us without paying some kind of price? Or should we take a more conciliatory approach, diplomatic approach? Or should we just maybe neither of the above and just focus on trying to trade as freely as possible with our fellow Canadians across provincial boundaries, as well as with other countries that are still friendly trading partners to us? And so I would love to hear your thoughts. Please feel free to text or call in to our line at 514-790-0800. Again, that's 514-790-0800. My view is that I think some kind of retaliation is necessary. I have to partially disagree with Vincent on this matter because there is a moral and political issue here as well as an economic one. Economically, he's right, and this is something I've said myself several times just in the last few days. There's nothing that either country can do to harm the other economically in this context of trade relationships that would not also hurt that country itself. Nothing that the U.S. can do to hurt us that won't hurt at least some Americans. These tariffs end up costing their consumers money in the form of higher prices. There's nothing that we can do to hurt them that won't also hurt us. So I was talking earlier this morning on the Big Five with a couple of our panelists about whether there are other measures besides retaliatory tariffs specifically that we could implement that might, inflict some pain on some folks in the United States, some of Donald Trump's constituents, just to hopefully discourage the Americans from going any further down this road. I think it was Andrew Cadell who suggested that maybe we should impose some kind of tax on exports, some of our energy exports to the States. That's an idea. But again, that idea, and again, I'm no economist like Vincent, but that would cost us to some extent as well, right? Because that probably means a reduction of our energy exports to the United States. So again, there's nothing we can do that won't hurt us to some extent. Vincent is right about that. And I think he's right to call for us to liberalize our economy as much as we can internally here within Canada, break down barriers to trade between the provinces as much as possible. I actually proposed that 20 years ago when I was a finalist in the Next Great Prime Minister competition, the first year it was televised. And that was one of my proposals 20 years ago, that the federal government should use its power under Canada's constitution, which is actually a very broad, wide-ranging power with very few limits under Canada's constitution to strike down provincial barriers to trade within Canada. So that says something about the reluctance of Canadian politicians in Ottawa to use the power they already have to free up trade between the provinces. I also agree with Vincent that we should trade internationally as much as possible, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't step up and fight back against the states to some extent. I don't think that whatever retaliatory tariffs we impose should be kept in place for too long. Maybe they should be gradually phased out as we build up our trading relationships internally and externally. But there needs to be some retaliation because we got to show that we're just not going to take this lying down. I see our call line lighting up. So let's hear from Nick in Montreal. And what's your thoughts, Nick?
Yeah, hi. They shouldn't have done it. I mean, a couple of years ago when Freeland was minister, they did it. And after the fact,
I'm sorry, who they and did what? Sorry.
The federal government.
The Canadian government.
This is the second time that they imposed retaliatory tariffs. And the first time around, it was Freeland who did it. And after the fact, they said it was a mistake. It's a mistake this time. Have you actually seen the list, the published list of items? 834 items, 18 pages long on the Canadian website. It includes toilet paper, fishing rods, gaming consoles. You know who all this it's going to hurt? It's going to hurt the consumer. And I can bet you that within a few days, one of these ministers is going to come out and say, well, you know what? You better buy your Christmas gifts early because the prices are going up.
I see.
How many Canadians have actually gone to the website and seen the items?
I see. I think I see your point, Nick. Thanks so much for sharing that with us. And, you're not the only one who feels that way. I'm seeing responses coming in on our text line as well. Jim says he's right. It may be, he, I think, meaning Vincent, it may be a bitter pill to swallow for us Canadians, but we are a very, very small player compared to the U.S. For the people who say, let's just trade with Europe or South America, etc., we need to understand that any country will push us under the bus to throw us under the bus, to curry favor with the U.S. if necessary. And Jim goes on. That's an interesting point, although I think Vincent's point was that any country, regardless of the specific geopolitical situation, should trade as freely as possible. And if you can't trade freely with one country anymore, trade as freely as you can with everyone else. John from Eastern Ontario, what say you?
Hello.
Hello, yes, John.
Yes, I have a short little comment to make.
Great.
I don't believe in the tariffs, especially the counter-tariffs, but they will do it because of the government we have. That being said, we should force as a country that our government, pay down every dollar of tariffs that are earned our deficit, our debt. And so we wouldn't be necessary. We'd be getting a voluntary tax, which we can control, not the government, that they pay down our debt.
I see. All right. Thanks for sharing that with us, John. You're not the only one saying that. There are, I have another texter who's now saying no tariffs, organized voluntary boycotts like on travel. So just leave it to ordinary Canadians to do the job ourselves. No government response should be called for. Bob, on your way to St. Jerome on the call line, what are your thoughts?
Morning, Akilah. How are you?
I'm great. Yourself? What do you think?
Good, thanks. A couple of small points here. I think the way Trump keeps saying we don't need anything from Canada, then he should sign an executive order that says you want to sell anything in the U.S., it must be sourced, grown, manufactured, whatever, in the U.S.
Yeah. Thanks. Thanks so much, Bob. So sorry to have to cut you off, but
Wayfair's Labor Day clearance is on now. Right now at Wayfair, you can get up to 70% off everything home. Shop Wayfair's Labor Day clearance now through September 7th at wayfair.ca.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
Canadian women are looking for more out of themselves, their businesses, their elected leaders, and the world around them.
And that's why we're thrilled to introduce the Honest Talk podcast.
I'm Jennifer Stewart.
And I'm Catherine Clark. And in this podcast, we interview Canada's most inspiring women.
Entrepreneurs, artists, athletes, politicians, and newsmakers, all at different stages of their journey.
So if you're looking to connect, then we hope you'll join us.
Listen to the Honest Talk podcast on iHeartRadio or wherever you listen to your podcasts.
We really are going to have to wrap up now. Thanks so much for joining me here on the Big Five today. It's great to join you all and to host with you all, to fill in for Elias. If you missed the Big Five this morning, it's available on iHeartRadio and all your podcast apps. Up next is the Vashi Capello Show, and at 2 p.m., it's Montreal Now. Thanks so much for joining me on the Elias Macco Show.
This newscast brought to you by Chico Pet Stores. Go to chico.ca to see our flyer and take advantage of great offers. Chico, where local pets love.
Hey, I'm Ruby Carr, the host of the podcast Encore. Check out our brand new episodes featuring music from the show that everyone is reheating as we speak, Heated Rivalry. Join me as I go behind the songs that brought Shane and Elia together. I'll tell you the stories of Feist, My Moon, My Man, Wolf Parade's I'll Believe in Anything, and Tattoo's All the Things She Said, and how they all became a part of this global phenomenon. Stream Encore on iHeartRadio, Crave, or wherever you get your podcasts.